Hello everyone. Now last time we went over how we could solve quadratics using factoring. If you want to look at that video again, you should, because we're probably going to be using this in this video as well. But in this video I'm going to be talking about another method of which you can solve these quadratics. Now, if you've done squares before, you'll realize that if a squared is 0, then a must be 0. Because 0 square rooted is 0. And if x plus a squared is 0, then x plus a in parentheses squared is 0, then x plus a is and must be 0. And if a squared is not 0, like say b, then a must be positive or negative square root of b. I would like to stress that this positive and negative is very important because you shouldn't forget it. And then same thing with x plus a. If x plus a squared is b, then x plus a itself is equal to positive or negative square root of b. Now, say we can use this to solve stuff that looks like this, like x plus 1 squared equals 5. This would mean that x plus 1 would equal positive or negative square root of 5, which would mean that if you minus 1 on both sides, x equals positive negative square root of 5 minus 1, which gives two solutions for x. Now, if you look at this quadratic, x squared plus 2x minus 4 equals 0, if you expand x plus 1 squared equals 5 into what should be x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals 5, and then minus 5 on both sides, you realize that this quadratic here, x squared plus 2x minus 4 equals 0, is the same as x plus 1 squared equals 5. Now, if we retrace the steps that we did to get from x plus 1 squared equals 5 to x squared plus 2x minus 4 in backwards order, so they can actually get quadratics into this format, you'll see that we start with adding or subtracting technically in here, adding 4 for x squared plus 2x minus 4, which is the same as subtracting negative 4 on both sides. So you get x squared plus 2x equals 4. Now, in this case, there wasn't a coefficient before the x squared, so now we didn't have to really do step 2. But if there is an easy way to sort of just get rid of it, is to divide both sides by a to get x squared plus p, in which case is b over a, x equals q, in which case is negative c over a. And then using the fact that a plus b squared is a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, you can then turn it into x plus p over 2 squared equals p over 2 squared plus q after you add, I do believe, p squared over 4 on both sides. Yeah. And then you can just take the square root of both sides to get x plus p over 2 equals positive or negative square root p over 2 squared plus q minus p over 2 on both sides, and you get what x is supposed to be. Now, as an example, I'll show you this. X squared minus ax plus a squared over 4 minus b squared equals 0, where it's a quadratic of the variable x. So there are actually many methods of solving this quadratic, as many quadratics have. Now, the first method that I'm going to go over is just completing the square, where you can add b squared to both sides, and also basically turn a into 2 times a divided by 2, which is still a. But now you can see that this follows the a squared minus technically, I'm not going to use a here to prevent confusion. It's basically like n squared minus 2 and m plus n squared. equals b squared, of course. And then you can just turn it directly into x minus a over 2 squared into equals b squared. And then you can just square root both sides, add a positive and negative side to b, square root b squared, which is just b. So you can get x minus a over 2 equals positive or negative b. And then add a over 2 on both sides to get x equals positive negative b plus a over 2. Yeah. And then there's another method, which is what we've gone over in our last class about factoring. Now you can turn a squared over 4 minus b squared because they're both perfect squares. You can just apply the difference of squares formula onto it to get x squared minus ax plus a over 2 minus b times a over 2 plus b equals 0. Now I've gone over how to do this in the last class. I'm just going to go over it briefly now. So yeah, basically, you can then directly factor this into x minus a over 2 minus b times x minus a over 2 plus b equals 0. And that would mean that one of them is 0, which would mean that x must either be a over 2 minus b or a over 2 plus b, which is plus or minus b plus a over 2. Yeah. And here's 3 practice problems for you to just attempt. Pause the video here if you want to try them, and I'll reveal the answers later. Okay, so here are the 3 solutions to these. Check them to see if you got them right. And yeah, that's all for this video. Bye.